Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, starseeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Hello, beautiful being of shadow and light. This light code is all about the organic ascension and breaking down what that really means as it has been conveyed to me. So, in a conversation last week with one of my brilliant sisters, Kara Busiker, we agreed that it's maybe time to leave behind the word ascension, although it's not inaccurate. It triggers a remaining shadow in people that around the concept of hierarchy, that we are ascending to a superior vibrational frequency of consciousness, and those who don't ascend are somehow failing and are being left behind because they didn't, alchemize enough of their shadow, and they didn't learn how to be good people or whatever. That's a whole conversation of its own. But Kara and I decided that maybe we would like to start using the word expansion because it feels more accurate, insofar as this whole process is not about leaving the 3D. It's not ascending away from the 3D. It is expanding through our consciousness, expanding through the 3D experience to connect with the ongoing and eternal truth that we exist currently beyond the 3D. We exist in the 3D and we exist beyond the 3D. So, in order to really understand this, I'll give you a little synopsis of how the dimensions were communicated and conveyed to me. So the 0 point field is the starting place, and it's a field of pure, undifferentiated potential. So it has not become anything yet. The 0 point field is the purest form of source, or the purest form of the monadic consciousness, the monad, the oneness. And the frequency of that field is love and light. And every time I say that, I'm so hyper aware that it sounds so new agey and so kumbaya. Yet that's how it was presented to me. It is pure light, meaning that in its purest form, all of this is light and all of this is love. It is at a frequency that we have used the words light and love to describe. But those are the two baseline foundational frequencies from which everything is created. Everything is created from this field of the highest, most pure and beautiful form of love we can even imagine. And love is an essential nutrient, an essential vitamin. We absolutely can't live without it. And, we see all kinds of examples of what happens when children are denied of love in their foundational years. So the 0 point field there's not a ripple, there's not a wave, there's nothing. It's like a placid, eternal, infinite lake of love. And it is shaped like a torus. So it's a toroidal field, meaning that it, even though it's undifferentiated, it continues to move. There is a movement to it. The first dimension is that very first differentiation within that field of pure potential. It's the first declaration of I am, or it is the first yes, as I heard somebody else put it. Like it's the first, like yes, yes to love, yes to being, yes to experiencing, yes to evolving. So it's just something, it's anything, it's a thing, it's awareness, consciousness. And then the second dimension is another thing. It's like, okay, so there's this one thing. Now, how can this one thing know itself? Well, it can know itself in relationship to another thing. So another thing is created. And it doesn't matter at this point what the other thing is. It's just like there's unity, and then there is polarity. And polarity isn't always bad. It's like, it can be couples, it can be opposites, it can be pairs, it can be, that it's just two different things that arise from the same field. And those two different things can relate to each other. Then the third dimension, the one that we know ourselves to be in this incarnation, is the progression of that into a third perspective. So it's like, how can the oneness really know itself even further? The oneness can know itself by creating a third perspective, which allows choice. So it's like there's the one thing. Let's just to simplify it, let's say there's black and there's white, and there's a whole gray scale in between. It creates the third perspective, which is the observer, the interactor, the player, the avatar, that then relates to the concept of black, and relates to the concept of white, and relates to all the shades of gray in between, and gets to choose continuously in every moment between all of those options. So it is truly the place where free will is born and played out and expressed to its fullest, to its absolute fullest. And you'd think that from there, okay, well then we have another perspective. But actually the third dimension it's not just two things in one perspective anymore. Somehow, when that third perspective of choice was created, choice, connection, communication, relating, like self-awareness, when that was created, it fragmented into a bazillion perspectives. And all of those perspectives are interacting with each other and constantly choosing. It just like, it created this incredible complexity and richness of self-experience. It also created a depth of awareness that has allowed vibration to slow down such that it takes on the properties of matter. It has like solidity, density, volume, mass, all that stuff. The fourth dimension is time, space, and the narrative. So it's really attached to the third dimension. It's what allows the third dimension to continue to unfold. The third dimension unfolds through space and time. Otherwise, it would just be like the creation of a billion different perspectives, but they would be locked in place. They could never see anything but what they're facing in that moment. The fourth dimension is like a slider. It allows everything to move around and interact with, the infinite possibilities that are available to us at all times, and to expand in self-awareness, expand through the journey, play out narratives, experience archetypes. It's like truly the place where we evolve in our perspective and our perception, and we come back to the knowing that, holy shit, that's what this is, and we really are one. And it's like beyond just the concept of hearing somebody say we're all one. We eventually get through this experience back to the knowing that, like, really though, I am one with everything. Everything that I interact with is me. We're the same consciousness. We're the same being. Nothing is my enemy. Nothing is a threat to me, but I may experience it that way still, because I am still occupying 3D and 4D. But a part of me, the greater part of me, knows that in a sense, this is all a dream. This is all one thing. And that is 5D consciousness. So when we get to 5D consciousness, it's when we've really anchored that in. That's where we're operating from as our default baseline. Then I know, because everybody's curious and wants to know, I'll just rattle through the other ones quickly. The 6th dimension is that place where true manifestation comes from. It's the place where we tap in through our upper chakras to the non-physical field of timeline potentials. And we tap into the pre-matter template of everything that we desire to experience. So everything that we want, everything at its essence is vibrational. So the 6th dimension is like the shape that anything takes in that field, that 0 point field, before we translate it through our physical senses into a 3D experience. So it's like a realm of geometric sort of forms, very similar to the mandalas I was talking about. That's our pre-matter template. That's our light body. That's our form. But everything you want, the Maserati you want, exists. It's not a blueprint of a Maserati. It is a blueprint of the feeling that you associate with the object that is a Maserati. And you connect with that feeling and you translate it through the context of you as an avatar in the 3D and 4D and 5D to an extent, and you imbue it with your life force energy and your attention, and it translates into this reality. So really, 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 it's that beautiful interface where, like, air quotes, nothing becomes something. The 7th dimension is the cosmic song. It is color and sound. It is what moves. It's what creates the ripple. It is the ripple in the 0 point field that then takes the shape of these geometric pre-matter templates. So it's really like cymatics. If you didn't look it up after the light code of the mandala, definitely look it up now. It's like that. It's like cymatics. And that's where the power of our throat chakras come in. When we speak with intention, it is a manifestation tool because it sends out a vibration and a declaration that alters the organic matrix and aligns the energy with the thing that we desire to manifest and experience through our 3D lives. The 8th dimension is the great dreaming mind. So this is the oversoul consciousness that is dreaming this whole thing. We are the characters within the dream of the great dreaming mind. The 9th dimension is just that on repeat. So it's like, the play out of all of this at every scale. It is like, we are the characters in the dream of the great dreaming mind, which is a character in the dream of the even greater dreaming mind, which is a character in the dream of the even greater dreaming mind, and on into infinity. And likewise, although we are characters in the dream of the great dreaming mind, we also have dreams, and our dreams have characters within our dreams, and those characters have dreams. And so it is like this like infinite scales of this whole play out of experiencing. And that doesn't mean it looks exactly like it does on Earth, but just to understand that this goes on into infinity in both directions. The 10th dimension is the cosmic spiral. It is so everything moves in seasons and cycles. Everything moves in cycles. The cycle is, there are no straight lines in the universe that are not synthetically created as part of the 3D experience. Every line has curvature. Everything is a cycle. And so the cycles all move in the same direction. There's this spin, this direction, this current that everything is evolving in at all scales. And that is the 10th dimension. Once you get to the 9th dimension and above, is a very, very, even the 8th dimension is very non-physical. To me, 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional beings are angels, or beings that have never incarnated and will never incarnate. The 11th dimension is the cosmic web that interconnects everything. So it's even hard for me to conceive of, but it was shown to me as like a great network of the most beautiful, intricate webbing that connects things that to us seem completely separate. They are not separate at all. There is an energy connection of consciousness between all of creation. And the 12th dimension is kind of like the anchor point. It's sort of I see it as the navel of that the spiral is spiraling around, that the 10th dimension is spiraling around. So the 11th dimension is what anchors everything together and keeps it spiraling at the same pace, so that everything is evolving together. And the 12th dimension is sort of like the drain of the torus. It's what everything is spiraling around, the ultimate, like, not a black hole in a scary way, but it's like a portal, like the ultimate portal of the whole entire universe, maybe multiverse, I don't even know. And then the 13th dimension, which was the highest I got, was when we go over the event horizon in that spiral down through the portal that is the 12th dimension, are birthed into something new, like the whole, the whole thing repeats itself all over again. So we are expanding through and beyond 3D because our consciousness exists across all of these. Like your consciousness, yours, beautiful being of shadow and light, you are focused in the 3D and the 4D right now, but you exist through all of those dimensions. It's just that your focus, it's hyper focused on the 3D and 4D. And most of us, the whole process of awakening is the receiving and integrating and interacting with more and more and more information that suggests like, oh, fuck, it's not just this, it's more. And we don't know from our human perspective what that moreness is, but it doesn't matter. There's more. So we are truly expanding through the experience of our 3D and 4D embodiment, and to understand ourselves as currently simultaneously existing beyond the 3D. And the next one available is 5D. And it is also coincidentally the hardest one. The jump between 3D and 5D is the biggest jump. It's like that, on Castaway or Moana, when they're trying to get their raft beyond the reef and out into the ocean. It's that first wave beyond the reef, that big shelf of a wave that keeps crashing them back to the beach. That's what we are up against in the 3D, 4D to get to the 5D. Once we're anchored into the 5D, everything else is so much faster. It's almost instantaneous. So I referred to this experience of ascension / expansion and what we're going through as passing through the eye of the needle. And I really want to explain that, because when I got that light code download, this was the place where all of my residual fear dissolved. I have not felt fear in weeks, and it's amazing. And if I do, it's so minimal. It's so short-lived. And it's just part of being human and having a human nervous system. So the eye of the needle, what I mean by that is that this experience is this whole scenario, that the narratives that are playing out, everything. Again, all this feels like to me ultimately is that the great dreaming mind, of which we are part of that dream, that great dreaming mind is waking up. And we, as the characters within the dream, are waking up one at a time individually. And we're waking up faster and faster and faster, because that great dreaming mind is rising up out of its own dream. And so we're becoming lucid players within the dream. And in order to wake us up, the dream is becoming so exaggerated and so intense and dark and scary. It's triggering everything within us that we are afraid of, everything that is unresolved, everything that needs to be brought to completion so that this book can close, so the fucking book can close. It's like, we're in the final chapter of Game of Thrones, where like every drama has to be tied up and brought to an end. And ultimately, when we are still partially asleep within the dream, we feel so threatened by all of these things happening outside of us. But what all these things are ultimately doing is they are pushing us into a corner. And what we ultimately find in that corner is the truth of our eternal nature, the truth of our real power, our true power, which to me looks like a beautiful, it's like a clear, multifaceted crystal that is also somehow a brilliant white flame to me, it looks like it's in our chest space, not in one of the major chakras, so not necessarily in our heart chakra, but very close to it. And it's like, that is the seat of your soul. That is the seat of who you are, right beside your heart center. And it is your true, true, true power. And when we get pushed into that place, we find that nothing threatens us anymore. So just to make it very exaggerated, if we were, imprisoned in a dark, pitch black dungeon with no windows, and we don't even know, we can't even see our own hand in front of our face. There's no light at all. And, it's just terrible conditions, the kind of conditions that would drive people mad. That God flame is still in there. That God spark is still in there. And when we connect with that God spark, that's the thing that can never be taken away. It can never be taken away. It can never be accessed by another. We don't even have the power to grant anybody access to that. It can't be taken away. It can't be destroyed. We can never lose it. And we can source everything that we need through there. Everything that we need. The only thing that happens is that we get convinced that we don't have it. We get convinced that it's not there, or we get convinced that it was snuffed out. And the more we buy into that idea, the less we're able to locate our own God flame, although it's not gone. It's all tricks of the mind. But those tricks of the mind have the potential to lead us down into this God spark. And so that's really what's happening here in all these scenarios with all these narratives. And when I say that we're moving through the eye of the needle to get to that fifth dimensional consciousness, what it is, it's the recognition that when you tap into that God flame, it leads you into the portal within. So the Heart Math Institute has demonstrated that each human being has their own electromagnetic field that is shaped like a torus. So we each have our own unique toroidal field. And then the heart itself has its own toroidal field, which aligns with the larger toroidal field of our own body. And when you access that God flame and that God spark, and you anchor into that, it leads you into the portal of your own toroidal field. So people right now, many people are looking for the external way out. They're looking for the exit somewhere in the outside world. How do we get out of this situation? How do we get out of this system? How do we get out of this nightmare? How do we get out of life on earth? How do I get out of here? Where's the door? Where's the door? Where's the door? And they don't realize that the portal is within, the door is within, and it is that portal of your own toroidal field that is located at the place of your God spark in your heart. And what that actually looks like is that it's where you get to a point where you just completely harmonize with everything that's happening. Everything. You surrender, and you know that in doing so, you access your strength. You don't surrender as in you submit and you conform to outside, influences of power that seek to separate you from your sovereignty. It's not that. It's the surrender in knowing that your sovereignty is a fucking absolute given. Your freedom is a given. Your power is a given. And that actually nobody else can take it away ever. All they can do is traumatize you and convince you that you don't have it, that maybe you never had it and it was all a lie, or that you don't have access to it anymore. So when you release the fight and you surrender to what is happening, you harmonize with it so much that you lose all resistance, that you just dissolve into complete unconditional acceptance of what is, because you've found and anchored into your true power. So you don't feel threatened by it anymore. You don't need anybody to change their mind. You don't need any of this to go away. You don't need anything to change. You are harmonized with it. It is just a dream. And certainly the dream can be very intense. But it's nothing that you can't take. It's nothing that you can't survive. And by survive, I don't even necessarily mean your physical mortal body. I know these things get confusing because, we're encoded with this survival mechanism, this survival instinct to keep our current incarnation going. But when we anchor into the truth of our soul and into that God spark, that becomes, it really becomes a moot point, because you understand that this incarnation is intended to be temporary, and that's okay. And actually, it's beautiful, because it's what gives us that sense of appreciation for it. So to get through the eye of the needle, we harmonize completely whatever we have going on in our conscious field, in as it is reflected through our physical external experience. Just harmonize with it so much that you lose all resistance, so much that you just dissolve into complete unconditional acceptance of what is. You just blend into all of it. And what I was shown was that as you blend with everything and release all resistance and all fear and all belief that this can diminish you at all, you completely let go of any energy you've been putting into pushing against it or pushing it away. You just blend into all of it, and your body just dissolves into the fabric of the organic matrix, leaving behind all density. And the way it's showing itself to me right now, as I speak it out right now, is that our physical, the dense carbon-based aspect of our physical bodies, it's like passing through a strainer. Like the big dense, air quotes, particles can't pass through that mesh, can't pass through that fabric, or that cheesecloth, or that strainer. But the truth of our power, the truth of our essence, everything we've acquired through this dream, through our consciousness, the truth of our love and the relationships that we've experienced, every lesson we've learned, our mandala passes through the strainer. Our mandala passes through. And so we occupy our light bodies, and we leave behind the coarser, denser material of our sleeping, dreaming experience. And I don't know how that plays out in everybody's unique 3D narrative. I don't know if for some people it plays out as, a laser event. For some people it plays out as a flood or a tsunami or an earthquake or fires or a solar flare or a virus or a car accident or cancer or whatever it is. I don't know if that's the way it needs to look for us to understand it from, as we continue. Like, I just feel like everybody is going to shift at different times, but some may shift in groups. And to those of us who have not completed our shift yet, it will appear as though they have gone on somewhere, and probably it will appear as though they've died. And that isn't necessarily the truth. It's that is what our 3D context understands. And it is the way that we will translate the experience. But we aren't being left behind, because the ascension is inevitable, and we will all shift. We will all shift. I don't know. I cannot speak for every single soul. If every single soul will shift through and beyond, I don't know. Maybe some are just not, that's not the desire that their soul has. Their desire is to continue with this adventure in the 3D realm, in the 4D realm. and that we can see it as a prison planet, but in the larger sense, it's not. Because the monad has not imprisoned part of itself for all eternity, like the oneness imprisoned part of itself. And like if that's the dream that is playing out, then that is the dream that is playing out. But we don't have to subscribe to it ourselves. So the ultimate message coming through this light code is that what is happening is we release all of our resistance and we become harmonized and we become fluid and one with everything. That nothing, no mandate, no threat of anything, nothing creates resistance in us anymore. And it is a tall order, and I'm not 100% there. But when I received this light code and integrated it, truly, I feel like I was so profoundly liberated from my remaining illusions that I am not 100% safe. It allowed me to rewrite my definition of safety, that it could move beyond, guarding this physical body. It allowed me to deeply love those who hold a completely differing perspective. It allows me to see things in the mainstream media and the alternative media and feel no emotional charge being triggered anymore, because I understand what's happening. I understand what's being played out, and I harmonize with it. And yet I am more in my sovereignty than ever. I firmly am not aligned with receiving the injection, and I will not, of my own free will, submit. And yet, my husband has even brought up the potential scenario of having it forcibly injected into me or us. He wasn't trying to torment me. He was just saying, what if it comes to this? And the way I genuinely feel is that my free will trumps that. And my knowledge of myself as a divine child of the universe, as a being of eternal consciousness animated by the God spark, trumps that I am not less powerful. I am more powerful, and that I don't even need to be afraid of that scenario. And the final one that I'm truly, making great progress with, but it's the final one to my current awareness in my field, is the ability to release any attachment to the experience of my children, while at the same time being their devoted steward and their devoted caretaker. So balancing that commitment I made to them to protect them and care for them and put them first, and yet recognizing them as sovereign beings of their own on a journey that is, the way I feel about it is that it's none of my business. I don't need to know the details of their journey in order to allow them to be on their journey, and that my love for them is not a weakness, and it will never be a weakness, and it is but a strength. But that is the one that I'm still working to integrate. So it is a tall order, and I'm completely aware of that. But that is the guidance that came through. That is our way. It's not really, we're not getting out of this. As we move through the portal, we don't get out of it, but we Let me see if I can wrap this up with one more clear articulation of the information. So we go within, deep within, and we find that God spark, and we connect with it. And we realize as we connect with it that fucking nothing can take it away, ever. Nothing can even touch it. No one can touch it. It's just inaccessible to everyone but ourselves. And we don't then have to be like, she said the portal was beside the God spark. It's not like that. It's like when you tune into the God spark and you source yourself from there, you understand that that is the true throne of your consciousness. That is the throne of your soul. Our soul has been misdirected to live up in our mind, at the level of our mind behind our eyes, for a long time. And that's not our place of power. That is our place of desperately trying to control for things and analyzing and never fully having the answers. When we go into our God spark, we know everything that we need to know. And we are set free from the illusion. The more we anchor into it, the freer from the illusion we are, without having to even exit this incarnation. And that is the portal. And that portal pulls us in. It's just like, it really is like an energy of like a black hole or a drain, but not in a negative way, but it has that downward funneling energy that pulls us down through that portal. And then when we truly go through it, it looks to me like a shift where it's almost like the third dimension reality that is playing out right now. It feels kind of like a residual haunting around us. Like we're aware of the energy of it, but we are not in it. And yet not a haunting in a bad way, because we know what it is. We were just there. So we understand what it is, that thing that we feel, those pockets of low vibration, those pockets of narrative, but they aren't our reality anymore. And it looks like the plants and the grass and everything does look different. It doesn't look like a literal new planet to me, but it looks like a different octave of the planet, a different, like everything is emitting more light. I can almost see the aura around everything. And then eventually, as we spend more time there and become more acclimatized there, we aren't even really fully aware of the 3D anymore. But we're still in bodies, but they are light bodies. They are lighter. They have way less density. They are much more crystalline. Everything is crystalline. And the motives, like nobody can get through that portal without, like with nefarious motives. Oh my God, we're so powerful, you guys. Do you understand that all of this has been to keep us disconnected from our heart portals so that we don't go up into these higher, that's the prison planet aspect, is when we buy into all this low vibe bullshit programming and I say when we buy into, and I realize that it's because we are inflicted with trauma-based mind control from the very start. And so we don't even know any different. But right now we are remembering differently. It gets to be different. It gets to be different. So nobody with nefarious motivations is able to get through that portal, because that portal, it's the eye of the needle. There, it's so the the mesh of the cheesecloth, the fabric of the organic matrix is so fine that those denser, ego-based perspectives and motivations just simply can't pass through. It's not even about like, oh, the guardians of the 5D are keeping out the, it's not even like that. It's just it cannot pass through. And it's so funny, they keep trying to break through the edge of the firmament, but you can't break through the edge of the firmament because it's not like a globe that God created to prison us all in. It is just the outer edges of the, to me, it's like a soap bubble or a it's just where energy becomes physically expressed. And it has an edge. It has an edge where, just leading up to that edge, energy is just energy. And then as it goes into that frequency range, boom, it blooms into physical matter. And so there's there's a spot on the spectrum of vibration that is the dimensions where it blooms into physicality. And that's the firmament. You can't break your way out of it because it's just not like that. You have to go through the heart. And the final thing that I want to say is that some of us are tasked, and you might relate to this, some of us are tasked with moving back and forth between the 3D and the 5D and the 3D and the 5D and bringing that 5D vibration with us and almost like injecting it like a bolus into this 3D, 4D narrative based realm, this experience that is playing out. And it helps to calibrate anybody who just needs that extra, that like an extra dose of that higher frequency. So some of us will be doing like a back and forth mission of like going to the 5D, calibrating, coming back to the 3D. It's sort of like a rescue mission, rescuing anybody who is willing and ready to go. And yet we are not capable of dragging them physically to the 5D. The rescue mission is bringing back that frequency and teaching them or showing them, reminding them is what it is, reminding them how to access that portal within, how to pass through the eye of the needle for themselves. We can't take them through the eye of the needle because we don't have access to their portal. They are accessing their own portal. But we all need reminders, and I did too, and mine happened to come through the Akashic records. So, beautiful being of shadow and light, I love you. You are safe. You are so powerful. You need not be afraid. But also, we are still, each of us individually, in a process of releasing the density through shadow work. And when triggers come up, you don't have to condemn yourself for not being 5D enough yet. You are 5D. It's just your 5D self is indicating to you, this piece of course consciousness that needs to be resolved. And this piece of course consciousness that needs to be, it's basically like, it's not just being resolved, it's being refined. You, through the process of your own conscious self-awareness, you are refining that, course, that course element of your own consciousness, that story or that fear, whatever it is that, feels dissonant. You can feel it. It keeps you locked here. You just refine it, you refine it, and you refine it. And eventually it becomes, refined down to its purest crystalline essence, and it can pass through the eye of the needle with you. So your triggers are not your enemy, they are your friend. You've got this. You can do this. I love you. You are so powerful. We are expanding through and beyond the 3D, expanding into 5D together. I want to round this message with a little bit of exploration of the concept of Earth as being a prison planet. I want to share with you my perspective as I understand it. And again, as always, I'll probably never stop offering this disclaimer, but this is just my perspective. This is how it makes sense to me. It has to filter through the context of my own psyche, based on my life experiences thus far. And, that doesn't mean that I believe that I am inherently right and some other perspective is wrong. This is just the perspective that feels like truth to me, and I'm offering it in the hopes that it activates for you the perspective that feels like truth for you. So, yeah, I feel really called to discuss this prison planet concept and what it really means. And so, Earth gets called a prison planet sometimes, and like facetiously, but also seriously. And it's the idea that we are trapped here. We are trapped here and we are having our energy harvested, and we are not able to come and go with the free will of our soul. And so it feels like a prison, and that there are, there are other beings of different consciousness that are deliberately orchestrating this situation. So this concept resonates with me partially, but it wants to be expounded upon a little bit. I believe that Earth is a prison planet. However, at the same time, it's not. And what I mean by that is, absolutely, I also see for myself, like through my own, experiences in life and my own observations, but also through the Akashic field, that there is an element of we're definitely directed. We are directed to stay here. Our energy and our consciousness is directed to remain focused on the things that keep us here. And as we are hyper focused on our 3D selves, the 3D version of self, meaning, when you really believe like this is who I am. For me, for example, like I am Amy. It's when I deeply believe that I am Amy and I'm not more than that. And so it's my ego that fears death. It's my ego that fears trauma and starvation and, all the threats, all the threats that are part of the experience of being embodied as a human. So if I believe that all I am is this one identity, this one life, I am Amy, and I'm really hyper focused on that. That's all I understand myself to be, and there's no real flexibility there, or very minimal flexibility. Well, then I will be operating out of fear. And this is where they direct us to stay focused on the 3D ego identity. And not only on the 3D ego identity, because the ego identity in and of itself is not bad. It is the character that you are in this life. It's the character that you are. It's your avatar. Like, it's not a bad thing. We don't seek to break free from the chains of our avatar. We just seek to be in our avatar in a way that allows us to make the most of this realm and like deeply feel the experiences of this life, the incredible, blissful, ecstatic joys that are available, and the just, excruciating, devastating sorrows and pains that are available and everything in between. That is the novelty of this place. That's the novelty of this experience, is how much there is for us to feel and to be and to believe and to see what we create when we believe one thing and not another. And to play with those beliefs. Like, our avatar is the vehicle that allows us to have all this experience. We don't want to break free from the prison of our avatar. We want to break free from the prison of the trauma-based mind control program that is, it is blanketed over life on Earth. It's not inherent to life on Earth. It definitely feels like it is something that is, how do I put it? Like, on one hand, it feels like it is being done. It is being deliberately created. It's being set up to disadvantage souls who come into human incarnations, to keep them cycling through these incarnations without their free will to go wherever they please at the end of a given human incarnation. And from a higher vantage point, once you get up to like an 8th dimensional perspective and beyond, you see that it's all sides are characters in the dream of the great dreaming mind, including the evil ones, the dark ones, the, in the words of my soul bro, Brandon Thomas of Expanding Reality podcast, the stupid lizard turds. The first time he said that, I laughed so hard. He's like, kicking the shit out of stupid lizard turds. So the stupid lizard turds are also characters in the dream of the great dreaming mind. And, so it's both things at the same time. It is that they are, there is a dark faction that is completely, it is anchoring the polarity of darkness and ego. And, in the words of, I think it's the law of one, service to self, meaning that they are self-serving. Their own motivations are all that matter to them. So they are evil. They do cause pain. There is darkness. It is scary. It is traumatizing. And also, they are part of the narrative of the great dreaming mind. They are part of the dream of the great dreaming mind. And so it's sort of like, when you can find a way to allow it in your mind to be both in such a fashion that you no longer feel like, you can still feel your triggers, but they don't control you. You can still feel, your righteous anger. Like, I would never say, I will never not be righteously angry, or your sacred anger. I don't mean self-righteous anger coming from ego. I mean, like, coming from the light, like the part of you that knows that this doesn't resonate. This doesn't resonate. So my sacred anger, my righteous anger, like anybody who hurts children, including anyone's inner child, like, I feel so much sacred anger, and I can feel that anger is right. It is true for me. It is proper. It doesn't control me. It is the truth of who I am, that babies, children, our inner child, that place of beautiful, vulnerable innocence is so fucking precious and exquisitely, it's just miraculous. It's so beautiful. No part of me is in alignment with it being okay that gets hurt. And yet it does get hurt. It gets hurt all the time, every day, over and over. And when I can reach that 8th dimensional level of really connecting into the great dreaming mind, I can feel some solace. I can feel some relief that it is a dream. The pain is real, but also it is a dream. I just drove myself off into the bushes a little bit. So there is a layer of trauma-based mind control that is very, very real and is very nefarious, absolutely, on earth. And it keeps many of us, not all of us, but many of us, in a sense, imprisoned here. And it's a complicated matrix. I don't fully understand it in a way that I can completely articulate it, but I can really sense a lot of it, and I can see a lot of it. And the most important part to bring our attention to is the trauma-based mind control and the messaging that we are unworthy. And what happens is that focuses us into negative emotions. Like it focuses us into a place of self-loathing, into a place of shame, into a place of regret, into a place of unworthiness, into places of like anger that is coming from disempowerment. It focuses us into victim consciousness, but none of those states of being in and of themselves are problematic. They are just emotional states available to us along, the scale or the spectrum of what we can experience as a human. So none of those emotions are bad in and of themselves, but the trauma-based mind control matrix and the false matrix keeps us there. It holds our focus there. It continues to repeatedly activate the traumas that bring forth those feelings, but in such a way that also keeps us feeling disempowered and attached to those victim narratives. And on one hand, feeling very sorry for ourselves, on the other hand, feeling truly disempowered, and on the other hand, because this being that I'm talking about has 3 hands, on the mystery third hand, it also keeps us in a state of like we feel sorry for ourselves, but we also hate ourselves. We're so angry of ourselves. It's a state of self-judgment. It's intense. Probably has something to do with the victim, rescuer, perpetrator triangle. I don't know. Take that and run with it if you want. I'm going to leave it. Anyhow, and so in a sense, it is a prison planet, because then so much of our energy goes towards like maintaining these stories and just trying to escape. Like our energy goes to trying to escape. And most of us have no idea how to escape because it's not encouraged for us to remember ourselves as souls. It's not encouraged for us to develop a sense of autonomy and deep trust in our own inner authority. We still look outward for authority. Like it still kills me that there are YouTube videos of like, my morning routine or my evening routine. I know they're just for inspiration, and I'm not judging you if you watch it. And the whole reason it even comes to mind is because I watched one last month. But also it's fucking weird because it's like, who cares what somebody else is doing for their morning routine? Like, I can just feel that there is a big collective, thought form around, if I just figure out if you're just curious about somebody else's morning routine, it's not a problem. But if you're coming from that space of feeling truly inside, like there's something broken with you, or there's something wrong with you, or your life isn't the way you want it to be, it's a mess, you don't like yourself. And that inner feeling of like, if I can just figure out the perfect morning routine, then I will feel better. Or if I can just figure out the correct diet of, raw fruitarianism or whatever, or anything. It can be anything. Like, I'm not meaning to judge anyone. If I can figure out the correct ketogenic diet, or if whatever thing it is, then I will feel better. And it's like, fuck all that. Seriously, like, just how's about you just feel better now? Feel your worthiness now. Feed yourself on, feed yourself on 15 minutes of tuning into your divine worthiness every day, and just like bathe in that. Just bathe in it. We don't need something outside of us to tell us, to give us permission when we get to go to the bathroom, and when we get to drive, and where we get to go, and all that stuff. And all of that stuff is being triggered right now for a reason, so that we can decide that we're fucking done with it. I'm getting off into the weeds again. So, just trying to remember what I was talking about originally. I know it was about trauma-based mind control. Oh yeah, so much of our energy goes to escaping, trying to find the way out of how shitty we feel, or escape. Like, yeah, it's like trying to find the right exercise routine, trying to find the right diet, trying to find the right morning routine, trying to find the right journaling practice, trying to find the right gratitude practice, trying to find the right career, trying to find the right partnership, trying to find the thing outside of us, or binging on, Netflix or Hulu or Crave or whatever, the bajillion streaming services, binging podcasts, binging food, cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, anything that we do in a mindless way so that we can just or sleep, anything that we are pursuing to escape the way we feel. Do you just ponder momentarily, either in your own life, or if you're feeling like really good and clean and solid in yourself, then somebody that you know and care about, that you can really see this in, just consider how much of their life force energy is going into trying to escape. It's craziness. Trying to suppress trauma, trying to suppress pain, trying to suppress shadow, the things we don't want to look at, when it's so goddamn much easier to just look at your shadow and feel your feelings and feel them. Feel them. And know that they're transient. They will pass. And you are strong enough. You're okay. It frees up so much of your energy. So there is a prison. It keeps us on the karmic wheel. It keeps us in a low vibrational place, making low vibrational choices, making choices that we regret, needing to repeat similar conditions over and over and over in an attempt to get it right and break free of the pattern. And all the patterns want, what they're actually seeking is just closure. It's just closure. It's where, you know how it is when there's a relationship or an experience that you've had and it doesn't have closure. It's active. You just want to bring it to a place of closure. So it keeps us on the karmic wheel. And again, this matrix, I think it actually does involve the moon and Saturn, but in a way that I don't fully understand yet. And I'm gently contemplating it in the background. And yet, at the same time, the prison is an illusion, because it's like livestock who, if you have an electric fence to keep your livestock in their pen, if they don't, when they figure out after enough shocks that the fence is electric and that they can't get beyond it, they just stop trying. They just stay. They don't keep shocking themselves over and over to figure out, is it on today? Is it on this hour? Is it on this minute? Can I get out? Can I get out? Can I get out? They just accept that they're here, and they don't question it anymore. And that's so much of what's happening here. So much of what's happening. So you can take the charge out of this idea of being trapped by realizing that, number one, you're not really trapped, because this is the dream of the great dreaming mind, and the dream will come to an end, and it's all right. And you'll find that, oh, actually, you're not only are you actually totally okay, but you are enhanced by the experience of that dream. You are more than you were when the dream started. But also, you can take the charge out of it by realizing that the trauma that they used to inflict the mind control on us only works if you believe that the trauma can break you. And the trauma doesn't break you. And if you just accept it for what it is, in the sense that you just stay in those lower vibrations, and you never seek out that eye of the needle, you never work on refining your inner experience to release the density of that trauma, then you will stay in an experience that could be called a prison. But the way out is not actually that tricky. It's not that hard. It's a lot of work, but it's not hard as in, like, you don't need to have all these like crazy skills to be able to do it. You just shift your perspective and your perception around whatever comes up next. Just shift your perception. Just integrate and alchemize your feelings. Just rewrite the story, one trigger at a time. We're just dispelling the illusion. We are dispelling the illusion. The cage is an illusion. Like, on one hand, the cage is real, but as with everything, here's the point. This is what I've been trying to get at. As with everything, the cage requires our participation in order to exist. The cage requires our subscribing to it as real in order for it to exist. If we just unsubscribe and we, decondition ourselves, deprogram ourselves one trigger at a time, then we dismantle the illusory construct of the cage. We dismantle the matrix, the false matrix, and we connect with the organic matrix. And we go out past the firmament, past the bandwidth of like the denser frequency. We can come and go as we please. That's the thing that I'm trying to say about like this rescue mission, and some of us toggling back and forth between 5D and 3D, because we can come and go as we please. Even if you aren't somebody that aligns with it doesn't resonate with you, you're not going to come back and forth, you're not going to be on a rescue mission, and you're just going to go to 5D and you're going to stay there. That's fine. You are able to go back to 3D whenever you want. And from 3D, you're able to go back to 5D whenever you want. The trick is that in 3D, there is all that density. There's those collective thought forms. There's so much that lures us in, and yet we can still freely walk out. We can freely expand out of it whenever we desire. So, in the interest of not babbling on for all eternity, because this is already like 15 minutes longer than I meant it to be, I will just tell you about, and William's waking up, about my newest program. Well, it's not actually new. I created it last year, but it's the newest one that is being re-released now. It's called Magic in the Dark. And I created this program because I learned how to transmute my trauma. And in so doing, I literally found magic. I can't even tell you. Like, I'm thankful for my trauma. That is genuinely how I feel. I am thankful for it. not only am I thankful for it, but I am not afraid of the fact that I will experience trauma again. And with the full knowledge that it will feel traumatic, that I don't get to bypass feeling it as traumatic, but I know how to alchemize it by allowing it to alchemize me. And the way that that feels, like the feeling in myself to be in the world and know that, like, literally my worst nightmare can happen and that I will be okay. And not only will I be okay, but I will find magic and there will be so many gifts for me there. I don't have anxiety the way that I used to. I do not experience regret. I just don't stay in those lower vibrational feelings anymore. I feel totally free. And I deeply, deeply desire for you to feel that way too. So I created this program to share what I learned through my trauma alchemy process. I want you to find that magic in your dark places. I want you to find what is buried inside of you that is like a treasure that is unspeakably beautiful and valuable that you don't even know is there. And that maybe you've been like, trying to avoid finding it for so long. So if this calls to you, please join. We have a beautiful group of people doing it already. You can use this information, this program, to help yourself through your own trauma, and you can use it to help other people, support other people. If you are a healer, if you are somebody who wants to do, support others in healing and others in shadow work or anything like that, I invite you to take this and use it. I don't feel any ownership over any of it. What I genuinely desire is for more of us to feel free, to feel free, to feel free, to feel how strong we are, to feel how powerful we are, and to feel the safety to deeply engage in life. So the cart closes, or the door closes, or whatever, on October 31st. So you have until Halloween to join us. And then we start officially with Module 1 on November 4th, which is the new moon. And there will be a beautiful new moon ceremony. It's just going to be really, really cool. And I'm also in December planning to record a masterclass on entities, like how to recognize them and how to deal with them. And if you decide you want to do magic in the dark and you choose the pay in full option, you will get this masterclass as a bonus. Otherwise, the masterclass will be sold separately, or it will be something that people can sign up and pay for as a one-off. Let's no longer be in a prison planet. Let's not allow this beautiful earth to be a prison planet anymore. Let's heal our shit and dismantle this false matrix, one trauma at a time, one trigger at a time, and know that there has never been a better time for this, as we are getting triggered left, right, and center, individually and collectively as a whole right now, so that we can wake up and get out of this, holding pattern we've been in. Not only that, but we're moving into the void period where the veil is thin and we have greater access to non-physical consciousness. And also, time is speeding up, timelines are collapsing, and manifestation is happening at exponential rates. So there's never been a better time. And then finally, the last thing I want to say is that the eye of the needle part of this podcast episode was this week's light code for my Light Codes membership, but it was just too potent. I just was like, I got to share this with everyone. So if you enjoy that light code, then, consider joining the membership, because that's just what I do. I just channel these things and leave them in there once a month, as well as I do a monthly Q&A. So that's what I'm doing with the rest of my week, is answering brilliant people's brilliant questions. And yeah, it's my gift to the world. So I will release you all to your lives so you don't have to listen to me ramble anymore. But just as always, I love you so much. I believe in you. I so wholly believe in you. And we really, really are taking back our power and taking back this realm, surfing this incredible wave of this wild chapter in the human collective conscious story. It's an honor to be here with you in this part of the dream, beautiful being of shadow and light. Hello, beautiful being of shadow and light. If you loved this episode and you want more, you can join my new membership, Light Codes. This membership is the place where you will receive all the light codes that I am channeling on how to navigate the intensifying energies of this next phase of the rapid awakening and ascension of the human collective consciousness on Earth, but also all the light codes on how to step into our highest selves, to activate our soul mission, to harness our magic and power as creators, and to manifest the highest timelines for ourselves and for the collective. To find out more information about light codes and all the ways to work with me, see the link in the show notes or visit amybelair.com. Thank you so much for being here with me on this episode. I appreciate you more than my words could ever say. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share, and I will catch you on the next episode.